Regarding the question as to should we adopt our students' text when it comes to popular culture, or should we be sharing ours, I believe that there's a balance. So I believe from a historical aspect that we need to share how society has been and specific pop cultural texts, but we also need to be open and continuously learn from our students. So we are living in a very fragmented culture, and what's happened is that people use TikTok, they use YouTube. We have these algorithms, that's going to basically just keep giving you, throwing you new shows and songs and everything that's your own interest. Therefore, you yourself is only going to have a skewed version of reality. And so right now with this fragmented culture, content is coming from the bottom up. Anybody. In fact, I just read that 3.7 million videos are being uploaded to YouTube every day. So whether it's YouTube or whether it's TikTok, anyone can put a video up there. And so a great example of this is the pop artist Dua Lipa. She got her fame because of TikTok and because of YouTube. But now with that being said, initially her fame, that's confined her to one corner of the internet, because it's only certain people that just loved her. And in fact, if she was walking down the street right now, believe it or not, Dua Lipa is at the top of her game right now. But if she was walking down the street, most people wouldn't even recognize her. And that's a great example of why does that happen? Well, because used to, with these media companies, you had a bottom-down approach. They were the gatekeepers, and they were deciding what comes out. So therefore, stars were big, whether it's an actor, whether it's a singer, everybody knew who that person was. And if they were walking down the street, most likely we would recognize them. And even though Dua Lipa is so popular now, she's still confined to one corner of the internet because of just the way, that is. And so I think that's an important thing that you need to, engage students in. Another example. Okay, so myself, I love EDM music. I've been following it since I was about 12 years old. That's when I got introduced to it. Back then, when I grew up, you could go out to clubs at 16 years old. And especially when I was in college, you were hitting several clubs in one night. That was the culture that I was around, that I existed in. Well, David Guetta, who is 57 years old, I'm 53, he's been around. I think the first time I heard him was when I was about 20. And he has been in and around throwing down break beats all these years. So he's been, between clubs, raves, music festivals. So even though, and here's the thing, he existed in one corner of the world, okay? But finally, just now, and I just believe this is huge, finally, ABC did a report in March of this year, and they interviewed David Guetta, because everybody's like, where did this guy come from? Like, he's finally mainstream. And, the dance community is kind of like, oh my gosh, he's been around forever with a ton of music produced over the years, but he was confined to one space in reality, because the rave scene, the club scene, that very much was its own culture. David Guetta's music wasn't being played on your main radio for a long time. Anyway, so, but he's finally gained recognition, and it's definitely, the dance scene is kind of like, well, finally, he's only a legend, and they're finally just now realizing that. So, that's another example of kind of how things come to be. So we have a shared cultural identity that's just missing, but a monoculture did exist at one time. People would wait until Thursday when Will and Grace and Friends came out, your new show every week. And if you missed it, you were talking with your friends trying to find out what happened. If you And if you did see it, you were talking with your friends about it. So there was the anticipation of the show coming out, as well as the discussion after. And so, things were really exciting. Anyway, but now with streaming, you have a ton of shows on, different platforms, and people can watch them at different places and times, and almost to the point where, your friend tells you, oh my gosh, I'm into this show right now and it's so good and you should watch it, but you just never got around to watching it and you didn't watch it till a year later. Then you're excited about it. So then you go up and you're like, hey, I watched that show. And then they're looking at you like, well, that's not newsworthy anymore. So, the thing is we're lacking. Now, I will say when Barbie came out recently, that was an example of monoculture, but another point is that kids don't even know the popular actors that make the movies, or even that they're in some of the sitcoms, but they know influencers. And so it's really important that we continue to have that balance and find out, what our students are into, but at the same time, teaching our students who was popular before and how this came to be. And, I really think that, this whole thing of is pop culture worse than ever? And I think it really, regarding togetherness and just connection, I think a big piece of that is really just shared anticipation, because that's such a big thing in life. And when we have all of these things, we have people confined to different places, different corners of the internet, or different shows and places and times, and everybody's into their own thing. It's not collectivistic at all. And I just think that shared anticipation, which hence is a shared identity, is just really kind of missing there. Okay,